6-minute segment and 5 minutes of overdrive for callers to talk to our guest here today. London Guardian wrote a big review of his latest book. It's a bestseller, and you can find out more at Amazon or any place else with the open source everything. And I want to get back for a full hour soon to talk about that specifically. But let's go to some phone calls here for our guest, Robert David Steele, highly recommended by Colonel Schaefer, and you can see why. Amazing interview. Frank in North Carolina, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, my phone's going crazy now. I got something I need to tell you, though. About 7 years ago, I was on MySpace, and I was communicating back and forth with a female police officer, NYPD. She eventually wrote a book, and I can only remember her first name, but she told me some information, and I can't recall. It's been so many years ago, I can't remember if it was off the record or what. But she said on the morning of 9/11, she was on duty. You know, she's got the badge, gun, you know, uniform, radio, all that. She said that it was very well known among the police department there that taken into custody were individuals with remote control detonators. And I said, well, how come this never made it into the media? This is many years ago when she told me this. I have not.
No, sir, that was even on Fox News, and that was in New Jersey and other areas. Let's get Steele's take on that.
Well, first off, 9/11 was we got 13 different countries warned us about 9/11 3 to 6 months in advance. And Dick Cheney used that to schedule a national counterterrorism exercise specifically to allow 9/11 to happen. Dick Cheney murdered 3,000 people in order to get his trifecta for going to war in Iraq. Larry Silverstein was briefed by the Mossad and put in the controlled demolitions. The FEMA Emergency Center was set up on the piers of New York the night before 9/11. Bottom line is that 9/11 was government complicity. It was a crime against humanity, and Richard Gage and the architects and engineers of 9/11 are finally gaining traction. And I am, with a great deal of pride, a 9/11 truther. This was all a contrived operation that murdered people, including foreigners, on United States soil with the complicity of Dick Cheney in the White House.
And now it's going to come out in the 28-page report that I've talked to congressmen who've seen it, Walter Jones and others, clearly says Saudi Arabia involved, stand down was ordered, and even Ron Paul has come out now and said there was clearly a stand down. Well, that's complicity right there.
Yes, and I'm glad to see Ron Paul get into this, because I think I would have voted for Ron Paul as president if he had not let the Republicans steal the last election from him. The Saudis provided the passports, and the Saudis provided the kind of the pretext for operations. I personally do not believe that airplanes hit the Twin Towers, and I personally believe that a missile took out the Pentagon. But what I like to do, and I honor the guy that wrote Crossing the Rubicon, Rupert.
Michael Rupert.
Yes, he may in fact have been pressed to suicide. But the bottom line here is, what I like to say is, I am absolutely certain 9/11 has not been properly investigated. I completely support Richard Gage's call for an independently funded investigation. And I have lectured in New York, and I have said, if you give me the 90 days of Larry Silverstein prior to 9/11, I will give you the entire plot.
So are you saying, I know under Bluebeam and other programs they have giant hologram projectors.
I'm not sure it was holograms as much as planes flying by, drones. There are multiple different kinds of things, including cloaking devices. I mean, we have some very advanced technology.
Well, sure. I mean, I was told about that 20 years ago, and now they've admitted they got tanks and planes that are see-through.
You were ahead of your time. But the bottom line here is the 3 buildings in New York came down with controlled demolitions. I don't care what hit them. Whatever hit them did not bring them down. They were brought down with controlled demolitions, and the Pentagon was hit.
Well, undoubtedly, some of those planes look like they were cargo planes painted up, look like passenger planes. I don't know. Just we know the official story isn't true. We know that. We'll be right back in 1 minute. Talk to Chip and Tony and others. Just amazing interviewing our guests. 5betaiota.net. Stay with us.
Using unparalleled research in the development of a synergistic formulation based around the key concepts of super oxygenation, the next level in cleansing is here. With key ingredients backed by real clinical studies, the new Oxy Powder, available through InfoWars Life, was invented during Dr. Group's research on the toxification of our bodies. Many herbal colon cleansers are harsh on the body and contain cheap and potentially dangerous ingredients, oftentimes full of synthetic fillers, GMOs, additives, or worse. Gently start cleaning your body with easy capsules that start working while you sleep. Oxy Powder does not require time off work, and there's no need for bad tasting concoctions. Instead, Oxy Powder slowly releases monoatomic oxygen into the intestinal tract and body. Experience the astonishing cleansing power of superoxide and ozonide technology. Go to InfoWarsLife.com or InfoWarsStore.com to get started with Oxy Powder, or call 1-888-253-3139.
Coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
All right, let's rush through your phone calls for Robert David Steele, our guest, formerly with the CIA, highly recommended by Colonel Schaefer. Just to give you an idea what Schaefer thinks. Let's talk to Chip in Arkansas. You're on the air. Go ahead with a question or comment.
Well, Mr. Steele, Alex, thank you so very much for your time and even every day you do Overdrive. Here's what we got, guys. Mr. Steele, I'm curious as to what you think about mandatory vaccinations. A couple days ago, our local city here in Fayetteville, Arkansas, is requiring our students to get a mandatory chickenpox vaccination.
Well, they lie. They say it's mandatory. It's not really. They have to give you a waiver.
Well, we're looking into all that stuff because they've not contacted us per their email or phone call.
Yeah, no, they play dumb and say there isn't one in a conspiracy to lie to you. Mr. Steele comments on mandatory vaccines.
Well, I'll tell you, this is why I'm such a believer in the truth. What we are learning now is that vaccinations, on the one hand, if they're honest vaccinations and they're properly screened and you know what's in them, they're good. They prevent disease. But what we're also learning is that Bill Gates and others are using them for eugenics purposes. We have found vaccinations, not me personally, but the many, many people that I rely on.
It's been on mainstream news. They just had a bunch of deaths in the UN shot program in Syria.
Look, vaccinations are sterilizing people in Africa and Central America, and so is Monsanto grain. Okay, by the third generation of rats eating Monsanto grain, they're sterile. So what I really believe in is that we, the people, have a right to public intelligence, which for me means decision support. It doesn't mean spying. We, the people, have a right to know what's in that vaccination. And my bottom line is there's nobody in the United States of America I trust today that will tell me what's in that vaccination.
Exactly. They don't want GMO labeling. They won't let us have it in California. So you can't know what's in your food, but the NSA is going to know what you said on the phone to your wife. I mean...
Yeah, but only if they want to destroy you. Alex, the good news about NSA is it only processes 1% of what it collects. The bad news is it processes everything about Alex Jones.
Oh, I know. And then add some. Let's go to Indigo in Colorado. I guess I'm the Burning Man when it comes down to the end of the day. Indigo, you're on the air.
I agree with you guys about this Ebola false flag. My dad trains constantly for these drills in the Northeast for the imminent biological attack with hazmat suits and all of that. But I was curious what your guys thought about Second Amendment false flags on the border. Like, I had this dream 7 months ago about where I was a little Latin American kid with just women and children in the compound, and there was gunfire that went off, and I ran outside. It was basically a black ops operation. It was blamed on. I just knew it was blamed on veterans because after I got shot, it zoomed out. And it was a news.
Well, that's another question. They're constantly demonizing veterans and saying they're the main terror threat. What do you think about that, Robert?
I think they are scared to death of veterans. I mean, veterans are a sacred institution in America, and they should be. The bottom line here is that, again, the U.S. government is not a monolith. 95% of it, good people trapped in a bad system. But the U.S. government is doing some very bad things at the political level. And what really troubles me is that people have forgotten their oath to the Constitution of the United States. Because we have too many people in law enforcement, as well as the military, as well as the civil service and the government, who say, I have to follow the orders of the chain of command. And what they forget is that their oath to the Constitution allows them to not only refuse to obey illegal orders, but they have a responsibility to the public to denounce the people giving those orders.
The Constitution Bill of Rights that they swear an oath to is the chain of command. It's the top.
But they don't see it that way. Too many people are taking the easy route out and saying, I either have to obey orders or resign, and if I resign, I have to keep my mouth shut or I'll lose my security clearances and I won't get a second job. There is a third path, and that third path is be true to the Constitution.
Or turn into a total tyranny. Robert David Steele, great interview. Thank you so much for the time.
My pleasure.
Tonight, 7 o'clock Central, InfoWars Nightly News.
The Genesis Communications Network is one of America's premier broadcasters of captivating talk radio. We thank you for listening. Now, just imagine, there are thousands of people who are just as passionate about radio as you are. But what you may not realize is how easy and affordable it is to advertise with us. Radio commercials for your business could be heard on hundreds of radio stations across the U.S. every day. We can help you by creating an effective radio advertising campaign for your company. From script writing to producing your commercial, just like the one you're listening to right now. No other network provides the level of customer service we do. When it comes to radio advertising, we are your one-stop shop. And no matter how big or small your business is, we can help. Email us at advertise@gcnlive.com, and an experienced advertising executive will help you take the first step towards driving more customers to your business or website. Advertise@gcnlive.com. Easy, affordable, effective.
Have you heard?
Your eyes. Super male, and then when super female came out, tell us what happened.
After I saw